Moving on from the last Penta Pro video, we're continuing with this overview here. And I'm starting with the box bottom left with the body graph. This represents a single body graph with all of the family members' designs inside of it. And I mentioned in the previous video that the Penta takes control of the auras within its zone and pushes everything else that's non-pentic to the side, but it doesn't mean that goes away. There are other impacts in terms of family, and this box really is representative of that. Because you can see there it says family aura theme and then 9 and 0. So this is saying, just like the connection chart, instead of 2 people we've got 4 people now. It's saying that when these 4 come together, every center within a body graph is activated. So there are 9 centers active, no centers undefined. And then there's a new type of tagline that's used in the family knowledge here where it says safe at home. Well, these taglines, there are 12 of them, will change depending on the configuration of the family. So if it's a family of 3, and the Penta really does not like families of 3, well, there will be a 9 and 0 version there that will say compromised tension. If it's an 8 and 1, that's a family seeking a focus. If it's a 7 and 2 with a family of 3, where's the glue, will be the lament within that family. So I'm not going to go through all of those here. I will do a separate video on these family themes so you can understand what that means relative to the particular family that you are looking at. But safe at home, well, this is referring to the fact that it's a family of 4, and the Penta really, in terms of family, it begins at 4. The 3 is so unstable. The Penta really doesn't like families of 3. There's always pressure in a family of 3 to procreate that extra family member because it brings a natural stability in terms of the family. This family of 4, for example, is secure at home. They feel very secure in the home life, because everybody has the potential for recognition. It's stable, this family, no matter whether someone leaves. If child 1 pops out, well, child 2 is still there with the parents. So the family aura is maintained. Whereas if it was a family of 3 and the father goes off to work, suddenly the entire Penta collapses and there is no more family. And thus that family is going to be less successful. Families of 4, for example, will have more stable resources. The opportunities will emerge for the family members to ensure that viability. Whereas a family of 3, well, it doesn't happen if the Penta aura has collapsed. And of course, a family of 3 is genetically not viable, because if that was allowed to continue, as you can see with the incredible decline in the birth rates across many, certainly first world countries. In Europe, for example, a recent statistic I saw was that the average birth rate per woman in the EU is 1.53 children. Well, if 2 sets of genes, the mother and the father, only have 1 child, it means the species will be extinct because only 1 set of genes is replacing 2 sets of genes. And thus a family of 4 is the bare minimum that the Penta wants to ensure parity in the next generation. And in fact, the Penta is always looking for an insurance policy. And that's why it pushes for a 5, even though the 5 in the family construct is quite a difficult number, as we will find out in other videos. But having 3 children means that there's an insurance policy if one of the children unfortunately has an accident and dies. It still leaves 2 children. It still leaves genetic parity in the next generation. If one of the children is not procreative, I've got to be careful in this LGBT world, then of course there's going to be a procreative issue with that. And if all's well and good and the 3 children survive, well, the gene pool's very happy because it's now grown by 1. 3 sets of genes have replaced the 2 that created them, the mother and the father. So this family of 4 is inherently stable, and a 9 and 0 with every centre coloured in means that there's no real outside draw to bring anyone else into this family. So it would be a family where you walk in to the family home given this 9 and 0 aura, and you're not going to feel quite so welcome into that aura because there's nothing that family needs from you. But again, I will go into the details of these family themes relative to family size in other videos. Moving back to the pentagraph, in the last video, the beginning of the overview, I mentioned that each coloured dot is representative of a person within the family and that their pentic activations are indicated on the pentagraph here with their colour. So if we take the 15, for example, we have the father, the mother, and child number 1 with that 15th gate. So there's always a strong glue here pulling this family together. That's where the penta begins. If there's no 15th gate, well, it would be a family that really doesn't enjoy being together that often. It's a devil of a job to get the family to stay together for any length of time. There's no glue holding them into the pattern of that family. And if you walk into a family home that doesn't have the 15th gate, well, the members of that family are likely to be saying, well, this doesn't feel like home to us. And they're always going out, they're always around their friend's house, they're always at work or something. There is nothing there that is the initial glue to pull them all together. And once pulled together, this is where the vortex starts spinning, and this is where this particular family has the beginnings of a challenge. Because a penta wants to be fully formed, meaning that you need some activation, or the ideal is to have an activation in every one of these boxes: the flow, the discovery, the home, the world, and so on. And as I said right at the beginning of the last video, we want you to be able to take in this information as quickly as possible and utilize it. So clearly, having nothing in a box is very, very significant. And that's why if you look at any pro-penta chart, you will see a red outline around any area of that penta that is missing. It's called a gap. So you can see with this family, there are 3 boxes that have no activations in them, and it means that the penta is lacking that functionality, and the penta does not like lacking functionality. And it's these missing activations where the penta, the virus that's pulling these people together, begins to work on the minds of the penta members, and the penta is chemically demanding that something's done about these missing activations. And typically, because we live in a not-self world, what tends to happen with these gates that are missing is that they become the obsession of the family members. And this is what we call a gap in family knowledge. There's a gap in this penta, and thus it's going to be something that becomes a focus for the family to do something about that. And remember, this is operating at the auric level. Just because the penta is demanding that something's done about these gaps, it doesn't mean it's actually comfortable for the family members. And if it becomes an overarching focus, well, it can then become something that really makes that family, in a way, dysfunctional. If you focus too much on one particular area that is missing in the penta, well, everything else gets pushed to one side, and that becomes the obsession of the family, which takes away the balance in all other areas of that family. And this is a pretty good example. What we have here is this strong 15th gate, so there's no problem pulling this family together. Once the family's pulled together, the 5th gate is there to ensure that the family has reliable patterns. You do this, I'll do that. You clean the kitchen today, I'll do it tomorrow. These families that have little notes written on the fridges and so on. It's all part of the culture and the inner home life of the family. And again, it's quite a strong representation. If you can have 2 activations in every box, that's ideal, because if someone steps away, there's always something else that can replace that. So we have a family here that's happy to come together as a family, that naturally will find its culture, its inner home life. The left leg of this vortex is representing the inner home life. Well, the other side is where we have the first problem, because the 46 is not there. And this is a very important leg in terms of the Penta, because this is what harmonizes the family. So you can see now the 15-5 is logical energy, so it's quite critical and it's pattern based. So it can mean that yes, this family come together nice and easily, but it doesn't mean they like each other. You need the 46 gate to harmonize and get them to identify with, this is our family, we enjoy being together. And that's the energy that the 46 brings here. So one of the laments of this family will be, oh, there's too much bickering going on here, let's harmonise more, let's do things more to make us feel like a family, and so on. The family members begin to focus on that 46 gate. And remember, the Penta is drawing from the auras of the people in the Penta, and those people are also subject to the effects of the transit field. So clearly from time to time that 46 is going to be there, and suddenly there's this sense of, oh, we are a lovely family together and we don't have to work on it so hard, until that planet goes away and the gap opens up again. And it doesn't mean because there's no 46 there's something wrong with the family. It means that you've got to understand that it's not naturally there in this family. It doesn't mean because the Penta says you must have harmony at all times that that is true. You do what's right for your family. So it's about not overreacting to these gaps in the Penta, because the not self mind always does. The biggest problem that's here, though, is this 14, because you'll notice there's no way for the energy to move to the top part of the Penta if there's no 14th gate. And you know, in the body graph, it's the wagon, possession in great measure. This is the pipe of resources and money that's there to ensure the resource success of that family, and thus it's not there in this family. So this family has a great potential for material struggle. This is a family that's going to really focus on the lack of the 14. Where's the money? Always fearing unexpected bills coming up out of nowhere. So this is a family that never seems to get ahead. You know, you might get a bonus from work, $2,000, and suddenly the drivetrain on your automobile fails and you've got a $2,000 bill now for automobile repairs that you hadn't planned for. That $2,000 is whipped away. So this is a family that's always then going to focus on where's the money. Typically this would be the, children, oh, I want a paper round, I want to get out there and earn my own money, because there's never enough to go around in a family like this. If the 14 and the 2 are there, well, that family is always going to be better off relative than another family that doesn't have it. Even in the basic homes, they'll have more basic resources, plenty of coal and firewood and basic food essentials and so on. That 14th gate is there to ensure that the needs of the family are met. So it's a big problem having a gap in the 14th gate, because the Penta is very, very sick without that. And to throw further fuel on that lack of money fire, well, the other gap here is the 8th gate. It's called demonstration, and it's symptomatic of what Pentas are. They are very, very competitive. And of course, it's quite comical looking as an individual at that, but this is the family life. You go to an average suburban street that is well kept, and there is one house there that has not been decorated and the grass is overgrown. Boy, are they going to feel the pressure from the other Pentas to get their act in order. Or the house next door, the family next door have got a new car. Well, that will then put the pressure on this family to, well, let's not fix the drivetrain, let's upgrade the car, because the Penta wants to be seen by other families to be doing well. And you can see at school as well, with the kids coming home and saying, I need this set of $200 whatever sneakers, and you've now got to find $400 for two children just to keep up with the other children so that your family doesn't look like it's lacking in some way. This is pentic competition. The family needs to be seen out together and to be seen to be successful. Well, this is a family that will rarely go out. The lament will be, we're not going out enough, but it will still feel that pentic pressure to keep up with the so-called Joneses, the other Pentas. We have to be at least as good as them or better, and that takes money, right back to the 14 again. So the Penta is this avaricious material force. And if you want to know what the roots of materialism is, it's not in us as humans, this avaricious need to have far more than one really needs. It is this viral Penta making us materialistic because of what the family represents. And of course, the Penta is the root of business as well. It's the same formula, which is why business is an avaricious, greedy world as well. And of course, there's nothing you can do about it. This is the difference between the family Penta knowledge and the business Penta knowledge. Because we all know in business, if you don't like the dynamics of the people in your business, you can fire them and you can hire somebody else, or you can move people around. So if you've got some work group that doesn't have the 14th gate, well, you bring somebody in that does have the 14th gate and you move somebody out that's, less productive. You can't do that with a family. You're stuck with your family. You can add family members, so you could, play the lottery ticket as a family of 4 and maybe let's go for the 5, but there's no guarantee you're going to have the 14th gate in their design unless you can ensure that that child is going to be born in Scorpio, for example, and they're most likely to have the 14th gate then. You can certainly shorten the odds of not having that 14 if you consider the conception moment and when that ultimately will be fulfilled 9 months later. You will also notice that there is a type of chart that says family plus animal, because if you look at the design of animals, well, they have the 5, they have the 15, they do not have the 14. So there's a subset of pentagates that another form, like a mammal, a birds, reptiles, fish, can bring. Even plants have a 15th gate. So if you're lacking the 15, for example, and you don't want any more children, well, you might want to go to a pet breeder that does record birth date and time for animals, and then pick a dog or a cat that ultimately has the 15th gate. That will have an effect on the family Penta, as will, of course, the transit field. So it would be ironic in that example that the responsibility of pulling the family together actually lays with the pet. And without that pet, that family is a family that doesn't even want to be inside the home, no 15th gate. So in subsequent videos, I'm going to cover more detail in terms of all of these areas: flow, the home, world, discovery, demands, material, etc., and what they mean, plus videos about the family aura themes I mentioned bottom left, and as well as an explanation about each one of these pentagates, well, also an explanation of what happens when it's not there, how that's going to create a certain kind of pressure in the mindset of the family members that can certainly lead to dysfunction if it's focused on. And don't look at the number of gaps as significant. One gap will mean that 100% of the family's energy is pouring down that drain, trying to do something about that missing component of their family penta. And thus, if you have 3 gaps here, yes, there's 3 things to think about, but it's not 3 times as bad as the one with a missing gap. So there's no comparisons here, 1 gap, 2 gap, 3 gaps. Any gap is a problem in a family penta.